Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Sunday, August the 23rd. We got one more 4-game slate. This might be one of our last ones, depending on if Boston is able to win today. They will eliminate the Sixers. If Toronto's able to win today, they'll eliminate the Nets. So we might have 2 series gone, from the playoffs after today, depending on how these games go, which is going to obviously cut down the amount of games we have. We might have some 3-game slates moving forward, maybe even some 2-game slates, which kind of sucks, but still going to be a ton of money out there, I'm sure. These playoff slates, content-wise and, looking at the contest on Draftkings, been doing so well, like with YouTube videos and stuff. You guys have been loving the videos. The Draftkings contest, they're still running huge contests every single day, 100K to first, even on, these short 4-game slates. And like the games themselves have been incredibly, good to watch, even without the fans. I've been all into these NBA games, so should be a fun slate. Got 4 games here. We do have some big injury news today. Luka is questionable. He got hurt last game. He came out for, I believe, a couple minutes, went to the locker room, then came back, and then he got hurt again, and then didn't return to the game. It looked like they were going to lose anyway, so there was no point in bringing Luka back. Well, he's questionable for today. This is obviously huge news that we'll talk about, as we go through the position. We'll hit on the guys I like if Luka were to sit. This is going to be one of those slates where you definitely, need to be around your computer ready to late swap, because this Clippers game and this Mavericks game isn't until 3:30. It's not the first game on the slate. It's the second game on the slate. So there's a chance we don't have news on Luka before lock. You're going to want to have spots available. I wouldn't play too many guys from this Boston-Philly game. I think that playing 2 or 3 is probably fine. I definitely want to have, a lot of spots open in my lineup, though. If Luka winds up sitting, I'm going to want to get guys like Trey Burke in my lineup. Obviously, Porzingis was going to become a great play. So, yeah, we'll talk about that, as we go through each position. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, would appreciate it if you would hit the like button down below. Make sure you subscribe as well. If you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're gaining a ton of subscribers. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for me. To all of you that have come to the channel and enjoyed the content and have hit that subscribe button, I do really appreciate it. There's still a lot of people who do watch my videos that aren't subscribed, so definitely click the subscribe button. It is free, it doesn't cost you anything. Also, be sure to click the notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you would like, I do have more content available on Patreon as always. That is linked down in the description. If you really enjoy these YouTube videos, you want to get more content from me, you can check out the stuff that I have on Patreon, linked down in the description. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and start off at the top at point guard. So we do have Luka, most expensive option here. Obviously, going to be huge news. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to play today. Assuming he does play at 10,800, I don't think he's a bad play by any means. I just think, he's not going to be a guy I've really forced in. I haven't been on Luka a ton just so far. I've had some exposure to him in my lineups, but, he hasn't been like a core play for me. I don't think I'm really going to be building around him again. I think guys like Kawhi for 1,000 less. I really like Jason Tatum again. He's almost 2,000 less. You even got these like 8K and 7K guys. Plus, we're not going to have a ton of value. Obviously, if Luka sits, that's going to give us some value. But if Luka plays, we're not going to have a bunch of like 4 or 5K guys that we love. So I don't think I'm really going to be paying up for Luka today too much if he does play. I think there's other ways I'd rather go. Donovan Mitchell I think is a bit overpriced at 9,500. Now that Mike Conley is back, I don't really want to pay that price tag for Mitchell. Sure, Mitchell can go out there and drop 55, 60, but you really need him to put up like a massive ceiling game in order for him to pay off that price. I'd rather go to some of these guys in the 8K range. So Karis LeVert's someone that I've played every slate so far. He's been okay. First slate, he was pretty good, 47 DK points in 35 minutes. Last 2, he's been disappointing, though. 43 DK points in the game 2, and then last game, 33 DK points in just 34 minutes. It was his worst game by far. I still have interest in LeVert. He's going to play huge minutes if it's a close game. Obviously, that is a huge concern. They got blown out in Game 1 and in Game 3. They were able to keep Game 2 close, and we saw LeVert play 39 minutes. He's going to play close to 40 minutes if it's a close game today. Going to get a ton of usage. If he can knock down his shots, he has massive upside. I don't think he's going to be a core play for me like he's been the last 3 slates, but I'm definitely going to be overweight on him, especially if people are going to be scared off because he disappointed last game. I still want to have exposure to Karis LeVert. The upside is still there. I just don't want him to be a guy that, kind of defines my day. Even if he goes out there and kind of struggles, I don't want that to really kill me. I want to have exposure to him. I want to be overweight on him, but I don't need him to be in like 60% of my lineups like he has been the last few slates. And then you got the Toronto guys. So you got Lowry and Van Vliet. I have no problems with either one. Again, I think I'm going to side with Fred Van Vliet. Just been so good, getting huge minutes. Going to play 40 to 42 minutes. Been incredibly consistent. Last game only put up 40 DK points, but obviously he could have had a way better game if it was a close game, because he only played 32 minutes. Barely played at all in the fourth quarter, I believe. Kind of got pulled early. They just didn't need him. They were winning by 25, or they won the game by 25 points. Assuming it stays close today, expect Van Vliet to get back to playing about 40 to 42 minutes. He can easily pay off a $7,700 salary. So I do have interest in him. Kemba Walker is someone I like quite a bit. So I was on him a lot 2 slates ago, where he kind of disappointed. 32 DK points in a blowout win. Only played 26 minutes. But then last game looked really, really good. 47 DK points in 35 minutes. Shot the ball really well. Without Gordon Hayward, that is a boost for Kemba Walker. The offense is going to run through Kemba, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. Those are going to be the 3 guys doing all the heavy lifting for the Celtics right now. They have a chance to sweep Philly here. If they can get a win, they can get them some extra rest heading into the second round. I expect Kemba to continue to play well. Hopefully Philly can keep the game close so we see Kemba play his full minutes. If he plays, his full 35, 36 minutes, he showed it last game. There is easy 40-point upside for him. Finally looked good after, just a rough stretch where he just wasn't doing anything for fantasy. Looked good last game, 47 DK points, shot the ball well, was able to contribute with 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 2 steals to go along with his 24 points. This is the kind of upside that Kemba has, especially without Gordon Hayward. That is a little bit of a bump for Kemba. So I definitely like him today. I like him quite a bit on both sides. He's $6,900 on Draftkings. Over on Yahoo, you got Kemba coming in at $28. They did price him up a decent amount, but I still like him on Yahoo as well. They're still easy, 40-point upside for him to where he can pay off these salaries. So I like Kemba a lot. I think I do prefer him over Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray had a massive game 1, and then last 2 games, Utah's beat the brakes off them. Denver's gotten blown out both games, the last 2. But in game 1, that was closing down to the wire. We saw Jamal Murray go off for 59 DK points. The overtime helped him a little bit. If Denver can keep it close, and Jamal Murray plays his full minutes, then I'm going to have a little bit of interest. I still prefer Kemba, though, for just a little bit more. And I can't play everybody, so I guess that's a stand that I'll take. I do prefer Kemba over Jamal Murray. Mike Conley, though, is someone I do like quite a bit. So I liked him a good amount last slate. He was pretty good in his limited time. Only played 25 minutes, but, a lot of that was due to the blowout. He did start the fourth quarter and played about 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. I think that was just to get him a little bit of extra run, to get some conditioning, or get his conditioning back up. They pulled him with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, so assuming it was a close game, I'd have to assume we would have got 34 35 minutes from Mike Conley. He was incredibly efficient in his 25 minutes. Shot the ball incredibly well, 69% from the field, 87% from 3. You obviously don't expect him to shoot the ball that well again, but $6,300 I think is still a little bit too cheap for Conley. Now that we know he's going to be back to playing his full minutes, is a guy that can contribute with points and assists, can get you that double-double. They will, stagger Conley and Mitchell's minutes, so you'll have time in the game where Conley is on the floor without Mitchell. That's when I expect him to be the most productive. So, I definitely like Mike Conley here. I still think he is a little bit too cheap. $6,300 on DraftKings. On Yahoo, I really like him over here. You got him coming in at $20, where he's cheaper than Lou Will. I think I definitely like Conley the most on Yahoo, but even on DK, where he's over 6K, I still think he's a pretty good play at that price tag. I don't expect him to shoot 80% from the field again, but the opportunity should be there. He was really, really good during the seeding games. When he got his full minutes, he was consistently putting up 35, 40 DraftKings points. That's what I expect from him in the playoffs, consistently to put up probably 35, 40 DK points. He is a guy that averages, just over a fantasy point per minute, and probably going to play close to 36 minutes if it's a close game. So I like Conley a lot at $6,300. And then you got these 5K guys like Lou Will, Marcus Smart, Jordan Clarkson. I know Marcus Smart had a good game last time out, but not really a guy that I play much. If I'm going to play guys from Boston, I'm just going to focus on the main 3, Tatum, Kemba, and Jaylen Brown. Lou Will's coming off a disappointing game, but I still expect him to play 32 minutes off the bench. A guy that can give you a fantasy point per minute. You can definitely go to Lou Will. I do prefer Mike Conley, but If I was going to play a guy in the 5K range, I think it would be Lou Will. For value, though, I do actually like Tyler Johnson as a value. So he started last game with Joe Harris out. Only played 24 minutes, but a lot of that was due to foul trouble. Or not foul trouble. I mean, he was in foul trouble, but a lot of that was due to blowout. He did lose a couple minutes because of foul trouble. I believe he picked up, I think, his 5th foul like early on in the 3rd quarter, and they pulled him. They brought him back at the start of the 4th quarter, but then, Toronto kind of ran away with the game, so they pulled all their starters. Brooklyn did. Assuming it stayed close, I would have to expect we probably would have got about 30 to 32 minutes from Tyler Johnson. He was another guy that shot the ball really well, 53% from the field, 55% from 3. But this is what Tyler Johnson does. I mean, the guy can score the basketball. He's kind of taken over the Joe Harris role. They used him a lot in like screens and stuff, looking to get him open shots. I watched a lot of that game. I just wanted to see how Tyler Johnson played, and he started knocking down some shots, and they just kept getting him the ball, kept letting him shoot. I do like him quite a bit here at 4,600. I think there is upside for him to pay off this price tag. We just got to hope that, Brooklyn can keep it close. That's really all we need. For these Brooklyn guys to hit value, they just need to play their full minutes. If Karis LeVert plays, if you tell me Karis LeVert is going to play 39 minutes and it's going to be a close game, I mean, I'm going to be all over him. I would love him as a play. Same with Jared Allen, obviously Tyler Johnson, even TLC. Like pretty much all the net starters I think are viable today. And Johnson I do like here, getting the start for Joe Harris. Should get more opportunity than he normally would. Should get more minutes as well. He is very cheap on Yahoo too. He's coming in at just $10. He's minimum salary over there. I think Tyler Johnson looks like a great value on Yahoo as well. And he's shooting guard over there. So, if you want to play Kemba and Mike Conley, you can still get those guys in with Tyler Johnson. You wouldn't have to play Johnson in your util. So I do like him a lot as a value play. Will he shoot almost 60% from the field again? I doubt it, but going to get the opportunity to shoot the ball. I mean, they just really have no one else that can score besides Karis LeVert. They're going to look to get the Tyler Johnson the ball. And if he's knocking down shots, I mean, they'll just continue to look for him, continue to get him open opportunities. I mean, I watched that game, and, like, Brooklyn had a lot of open shots. They were just missing them. Like, Garrett Temple shot, like, 10% from the field, 10% from 3. Same with TLC. Like, they were actually getting good looks from behind the three-point line. They just couldn't knock down any shots. Like, Tyler Johnson was the only guy that was actually making some shots. So I guess we need to hope that they can make their shots today and, they keep the game close. If that's the case, I do like Tyler Johnson a lot. But, I think that's probably it for point guard. Obviously, if Luka sits, I mean, Trey Burke's going to become probably the best value play on the slate. Should get the start here if Luka were to sit. Probably plays big minutes if I had to guess. We know Carlisle likes to get a little wonky when it comes to point guard minutes whenever Luka's out. But now that it's the playoffs, I don't think you're going to see him play like 5 guys. I mean, during the regular season, whenever Luka would sit, we get Trey Burke. Trey Burke would get some minutes. DeLon Wright would get some minutes. J.J. Barea would get some minutes. I don't think that's going to be the case today. I think a lot of minutes are going to go to Trey Burke. DeLon Wright should get some run off the bench, but I assume Burke would start. And, at 4,100, a high-usage player, a guy that's going to take a ton of shots, going to have the ball in his hands a lot. If Luka winds up out, I'm going to want to get Trey Burke into almost every lineup today. So that's why I want to have, open spots whenever that 3:30 game starts. Whenever we get Luka news, I want to be able to make swaps, to take guys out and to put in some of these Dallas guys if Luka does wind up sitting. That's probably it for point guard. I know Reggie Jackson, he actually came off the bench last game, only played 17 minutes. Even with Patrick Beverley out, they decided to start Landry Shamet at point guard. I don't know what Shamet did. I didn't play him. Let me take a look at that real quick. I don't think he's point guard. I think he's actually shooting guard. But we'll take a look at what he did. So he played 27 minutes, 26 DK points. So we'll definitely talk more about him at shooting guard. He could be viable if he starts again for Beverley. I don't think we've gotten any news on Beverley yet. He got ruled out Friday, so that's more news we'll have to wait on. Obviously Luka news is huge, but in that game as well, we definitely need to keep an eye on what happens with Patrick Beverley. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about shooting guard now. So looking here, I really like Van Vliet, who we talked about. Not a ton of interest in Donovan Mitchell at his price. Jaylen Brown I do like quite a bit. He's one of the guys from Boston that I have interest in today. He does also get a bump with Gordon Hayward out. Played 42 minutes last game, huge minutes. Wasn't too productive, just 33 DK points. But, Jaylen Brown is a guy that can produce when he gets time, especially now that Hayward's out. He's going to be one of the main focal points of the offense. I think if I'm going to target guys from Boston, I probably want to stick to Tatum and Kemba. Like, I think Tatum and Kemba are the 2 guys I like most. But I will definitely have some exposure to Jaylen Brown. He won't be a core play for me by any means. I assume he comes in low owned though, especially because he's kind of disappointed the last 2 games. People probably won't be, too likely to click his name. So definitely have interest in Brown in tournaments. Won't be a core play, but a guy, I would want to have some exposure to because I think there is upside for him with, him being one of the 3 main guys that's going to score for Boston right now. But then other options, if Luka sits, THJ would get a bump, and he would be very interesting at 5,700. Some other guys, Garrett Temple played huge minutes last game, but could not make a shot. Shot 16% from the field, 11% from 3, only finished with 13 Draftkings points. He's not going to shoot that poorly again. If he just knocks down even 35-40% of his shots, he's probably going to finish with close to 30 Draftkings points. I don't mind going back to Garrett Temple. Without Joe Harris, that's more shots to go around. Temple's going to be locked into big minutes as long as the game stays close. So I do have interest in him at 5,100. If Luka sits, Seth Curry at 4,600 will become a really good option. Could be a viable play. I know he's been already getting solid minutes off the bench, but if Luka were to sit, you'd have to assume Curry would even pick up a few more minutes, maybe even picks up more, ball handling opportunities. So he would be a value play I'd like. And then Landry Shamet, definitely want to talk about him. So got the start last game over Reggie Jackson. They decided to go with Shamet as their point guard. And he played really well, at least in terms of, DFS. Finished with 26 DraftKings points in 27 minutes. It looks like he did shoot the ball pretty well from the field, 53% from the field, 42% from 3. This is a guy that is pretty scoring dependent. If he's not knocking down shots, he's really not going to do much for fantasy. But at 3,400, if he's going to play close to 30 minutes, I think he's definitely another viable option we can consider. I don't know if he's a top value play by any means. I don't want to be on him, especially if he's going to be really popular. I think that's a play that I would like to get away from. And obviously, if Luka sits, I would much rather play, some of the Dallas value over Shamet. But definitely have interest in him if Patrick Beverley sits again, and assuming that, Shamet does start. You also have DeLon Wright, who could be a guy worth targeting from Dallas. But I think, my exposure is mainly going to go to Trey Burke, assuming he's the one that gets the start. So that's what I'm liking for shooting guard. I think we covered everything here. So let's go ahead and move on to small forward now. So at small forward, I really like Kawhi at the top. Kawhi has been so good, through 3 games in this series. Now that it's the playoffs, Kawhi really has shown upside. That's one of the reasons, I really never played Kawhi during the regular season. He just never would go out there and put up 55, 60 DK points. He would just get you 45, 50 and be okay, but not be a guy you have to have. Well, in the playoffs, his usage is way up. He's just contributing in every category, getting points, getting rebounds, getting assists, nearly triple-doubled last game. Taking 20 shots a game. It's hard not to feel good about Kawhi right now. I know the price is coming up, but I still like him quite a bit. I haven't played him at all so far this, in the playoffs. I haven't been on him, so I'm sure, now that I play him today, this will probably be the game where he goes out there and just sucks. But I do like Kawhi, man. It's hard to not like him with how much usage he's getting, with all the opportunities he's getting. The minutes as well. He's playing 40 minutes a game right now. As long as Dallas keeps it close, I expect Kawhi to play close to 40 minutes. So he's one of my favorite pay-up options. I do like Jason Tatum as well. Tatum was frustrating to roster last game. I was very high on him. Got into some early foul trouble. Only played 32 minutes. Only finished with 33 DraftKings points. But if, Tatum's not in foul trouble, expect close to 40 minutes for him. As long as the game stays close, that's what he should play. Obviously, he's a high-usage player as well. Should be very productive without Gordon Hayward. Going to be the main focal point of the Celtics offense. He gives you a little bit of savings off of Kawhi. So between between Kawhi and Tatum, I think because we might have some value, I probably will just try and pay up for Kawhi. But I have no problems going to Tatum. And if you want to play Tatum and Kawhi in the same lineup, I think that makes plenty of sense if you can find a way to fit it in. Like I said, though, I don't want to play too many guys from this Boston-Philly game. If we don't have news on Luka before lock, I want to make sure that I have spots available so that I can late swap. But I think playing Kemba and Tatum in this game and then probably nobody else, that's probably good for me. Maybe you play Kemba, Tatum, and Joel Embiid. 4 guys would probably be the max for me from this Boston-Philly game. That is assuming that, we don't have Luka news before lock. If we get news on Luka before lock and we can make changes, then yeah, don't really worry about it. I'm just, saying if we don't get the news till after lock, I want to have, spots available in my lineup to late swap. So I do really like Tatum and Kawhi both at the top of the small forward position. I think those 2 guys are probably 2 of my favorite pay-up options. Obviously, Porzingis will become a top pay-up option if Luka sits, but, we'll just have to wait and see on that news. But then you got like PG, Tobias Harris. I don't think there's going to be guys I really look to build around today. PG's fine at 8K, but definitely has taken a backseat to Kawhi so far in the postseason. Kawhi's just been doing so much, doing all the heavy lifting for the Clippers. Tobias Harris, at 7,500, just not a guy I feel like I have to have. Really hasn't had any, big games. Did put up 43 DK points last game, but still, 43 at 7,500, that's not really a guy you have to have. Sure, he was solid for his price, but not like a slate breaker by any means. So don't really see myself going to many guys at this price range. MPJ, 6,500, just hard to trust right now. Don't know what his minutes are going to look like. Only played 15 minutes last game. I believe he did come off the bench last game. So, yeah, don't really want to go to MPJ now. If Lucas sits, as I said, THJ will become a good play. Marcus Morris has played really well, been incredibly consistent, getting pretty big minutes too, 32 to 35 minutes, somewhere in that range, I feel like is what he's going to play today. Been over 30 DraftKings points in every game in this series. His price is 5,400, so you kind of need him to put up 30-plus DK points. But the minutes are there. It's hard to argue against him. I think he is viable at 5,400. I think Josh Richardson, Garrett Temple are both fine options as well. TLC is someone I like a lot. Again, I played him a good amount last slate, and it didn't really work out, but I'm going to be back on him today. 5K on DraftKings, still pretty cheap. Just $14 on Yahoo, also cheap over there. So if you look at the game log, you see the 19 DraftKings points, you're going to be like, man, TLC really sucked. But if you look at his, shot attempts, I should say, shot 16% from the field, 18% from three, literally couldn't make a shot. I mean, he's obviously not going to shoot that bad every game. I mean, if we have one of those games where he's even he knocks down like 40 or 50% of his shots, I mean, you're looking at easily 30-plus DraftKings points for TLC. Played 35 minutes even in a big blowout. Like, he was on pace to play about 40 minutes if the game stayed close. Without Joe Harris, that is a pretty big boost for TLC. Going to get all the opportunity in the world to just get up as many shots as he wants. It's just, can he make them is the question. And he actually had a good amount of open looks in that game. He just couldn't make a shot. So I'm just going to assume, he shoots a little bit better today and we actually get a good game from TLC. He was able to chip in with 3 rebounds and 3 assists. He's not a guy that's going to get you many peripherals, but he can get, 5-6 rebounds, could get a couple assists. We're just going to need him to knock down like maybe 30-40% of his shots, and he should easily pay off this price tag because he's going to shoot the ball probably 15 to 20 times if I had to guess. So I do like TLC a lot at 5K. Even though the price came up, I think that might keep his ownership down, especially because he is coming off a disappointing game. He was pretty popular last slate, but I don't know if that's going to be the case today, given that he struggled. So I like TLC a good amount. And then other plays under 5K, OG, going to get solid minutes, 4,500. I have no problems with him. Same with DFS, going to play pretty big minutes, 30 to 32 minutes. He's only 4,500. Another guy worth considering. Royce O'Neal as well, pretty much the same thing. As long as the game stays close, expect Royce O'Neal to play about 32 to 34 minutes. Only got 28 last game, but a lot of that was due to blowout. He's still very cheap at 4K, so I do have a good amount of interest in Royce O'Neal. And then, you got Shamet you can play if Patrick Beverly remains out. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to power forward now. So you got Siakam here at 7,900, who is coming off a pretty good game last game. He did look like his old self. Played 33 minutes and had 45 DraftKings points. Was very aggressive. Was able to get to the basket. Was driving a lot, which is what you'd love to see. Finished with 26 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, this is the kind of upside that Siakam has. The price did come up. He's up to 7,900. So I don't think he's going to be a guy that I look to build around today. But definitely want him in my player pool. I think I would prefer him over Tobias Harris. If I can pay up, though, I think I'd rather get to guys like Tatum and Kawhi over, Siakam and Harris. But I don't mind Siakam here. Al Horford moved back into the starting lineup last game, but still didn't really do much. I mean, he played huge minutes, 38 minutes, but just 24 DraftKings points. I mean, I don't expect him to be very productive. When he plays alongside Embiid, he's not productive, or he's not as productive, I should say. So don't really want to go to Horford, even though he did play big minutes. Marcus Morris, OG, DFS, we talked about those guys. Maxi Kleber continues to start and play, 32, 34 minutes a game. His production is going to be very inconsistent, but the minutes are there. He's still pretty cheap, so kind of similar to Royce O'Neal. He's another guy you could consider as a value. I know Jeremy Grant started last game. Wasn't too productive, just 17 DraftKings points, but did play 25 minutes. I believe he started last game, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw, MPJ move to the bench, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me check. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure MPJ did not start last game and Jeremy Grant started. Maybe Yahoo put something in their thing about that. Jeremy Grant replaced Michael Porter Jr. in the first unit. Okay, first unit after halftime on Friday. So I guess, I think MPJ started, and then so Grant started the second half in place of MPJ. So, what do they do today? Do they start Jeremy Grant? Do they start MPJ? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Jeremy Grant, though, if he does, get a start here, he could be viable at 4,300. I expect even if he comes off the bench, probably plays close to 30 minutes. His production is going to be down. I mean, he's not going to be very productive playing alongside, Jokic and Murray and all those guys. But still, he's very cheap. The minutes should be there. He's another 4K value you could consider at power forward. But I think that's probably it for this position. I think we covered everything here, just looking through. So let's go ahead and run through center real quick just before we end the video. So at the top, you got, typical guys here, Embiid, Jokic, Porzingis. So for me, I think this is just a wait and see. Embiid's 10K. I have no problems with Embiid. If you want to play Embiid, go ahead, especially if you have like Kemba and Tatum in your lineup, then you probably want to run it back with someone like Embiid. I doubt I would play like 2 or 3 Sixers or 2 or 3 Celtics without having at least one Sixer in my lineup. So if you want to play Embiid, I don't mind that, but I think I want to leave spots open. If we don't get news on Luka before lock, I want to have opportunity to swap to Porzingis in case Luka winds up out. If Luka does wind up being out, then Porzingis is my favorite center to pay up for, and he would honestly become probably my favorite stud on the slate. I would prefer him over Kawhi, just straight up, because I think Porzingis just has massive, upside whenever Luka's off the floor. Last game, he played 38 minutes, had 57 DraftKings points. I'm pretty sure Luka got injured like midway through the third quarter, so Porzingis was able to pretty much just go out there and feast for the rest of the game in the fourth quarter. Obviously, if Luka sits today, Porzingis is going to be a smash play. He has an insane amount of usage, or gets an insane amount of usage. His rebounding numbers skyrocket, can go out there and get you 60, 65 DraftKings points. Like Porzingis can easily be the highest scoring player overall on the slate if Luka does wind up out. And even if Luka plays, I don't mind Porzingis because maybe Luka, isn't 100% even if he plays. So he's a guy I like paying up for. I think between him and Jokic, honestly, I've been on Jokic a lot recently, but I think I do prefer Porzingis today because I think, he's going to get a ton of usage if Luka's out. Even if Luka plays, like I said, Luka could maybe be limited here. Maybe Luka isn't 100%, but he's just going to try and play because of the playoffs. If this was a regular season game, I doubt Luka would play, but because it is the playoffs, maybe he tries and fights through it. So yeah, I do like Porzingis a lot. If you want Embiid, I'm fine with Embiid. I have no problems with him, but I think Porzingis is my favorite center to pay up for. And if Luka winds up out, he'll be my favorite stud overall. And then you got Gobert and Jared Allen. So Jared Allen's been very consistent in this series. His minutes have been through the roof. Only played 32 last game, but I'm pretty sure he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. He didn't even score a single basket. He took 0 shots. Literally took 0 shots. Didn't score a single basket. His 4 points all came from free throws, and he still put up 33 DraftKings points. That just shows you, Jared Allen has big-time upside. He got 17 rebounds. It's not crazy to see him getting that many rebounds because he does lead this team in rebounding percentage with DeAndre Jordan off the floor. I still like Jared Allen a lot. I know there's risk here if the game blows out. Jared Allen's probably not going to be a good play at his price. But who knows what the blowouts, man. I mean, Game 1 was a blowout. Game 2 was a close game. Game 3 was a blowout. So maybe we see a close game today. I don't really know. I'm not going to get scared off these Nets guys just because of the blowout concern. I still have interest in Jared Allen. Still have interest in Karis LeVert. I like TLC for cheap. I like Tyler Johnson for cheap. Garrett Temple, is in play for me as well. Between Gobert and Allen, I think I'd honestly rather play Jared Allen. I know Gobert had the better game last game. He had an insane first quarter. I think he had like 30-something DK points out in the first quarter. Only finished with 44 because, he really didn't play much at all in the fourth quarter because of the blowout. I probably won't be going to Gobert. I haven't really played Gobert much at all in this series. Just not a guy I feel like I ever have to have. Sure, Gobert can go out there and get you, 45 DK points. But is he going to go out there and break the slate and drop 55, 60? Unlikely that he does that, where I think Jared Allen legit has like 50-point upside if, the game stays close because he's going to play 40 minutes if it's a close game. And, he can go out there and get you 20 and 20. I know he hasn't done it yet, but the upside's obviously there. Given that he scored 17 rebounds, or he got 17 rebounds last game, just couldn't make a shot, I guess, or didn't take any shots, I should say. But if you're not paying up for a center, this is probably a position I do want to try and fit in, like maybe Porzingis or Allen. If you're going to the mid-range, though, you could go to Serge Ibaka. I talked about Ibaka last slate. I did have interest in him. Came off the bench and was incredibly productive. Only played 23 minutes, but, blowout obviously was a big reason why they won that game by 25 points. I'm pretty sure Ibaka didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. Finished with 43 Draftkings points. He was incredibly productive in that game. Did double-double in those 23 minutes. I don't expect Ibaka to be that productive on a point-per-minute basis, but it's pretty clear that they want to play Ibaka over Marc Gasol right now. Even though Marc Gasol still starts, he just doesn't play as much as Ibaka. Ibaka's going to be out there late in the game, whereas Gasol's going to be on the bench. So if I'm going to go to one of those centers from Toronto, even though Marc Gasol is really cheap at $3,900, I think I do prefer Ibaka. Zubac played 30 minutes last game. I have no idea if that happens again. If you want to play Zubac here at $4,400, if you tell me he's going to play 30 minutes again, then obviously I'm going to have a lot of interest in him at $4,400. Montrezl Harrell's minutes have just been way down. I don't know what's going on with him, but he just hasn't been the same. 15, 22, and 18 minutes through 3 games in this series. For fantasy, he just hasn't been good. He's 4K. He's so cheap, but I just can't go to Montrezl Harrell right now until I see him actually do something. So if I'm going cheap at center, I guess, Ibaka I like, Zubac I like. But that's probably it for me. I don't think I'm going to go to Marc Gasol. He's really cheap. Probably going to play about 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Sure, he could put up 25, maybe 30 DK points in 20 minutes and just be really productive. But he's just so hard to trust right now. The minutes are just so low. You're going to need him to be incredibly productive on a point-per-minute basis, to pay off this price tag. So, yeah, that's probably it for me at center, guys. I think we broke everything down, talked about this 4-game slate. Definitely one of the more interesting slates we've had, because we do have really big injury news today with Luka being questionable. This is obviously going to change a lot. You're going to want to be at your computer, at your phone, wherever, to make adjustments to your lineup, because if we get news at 2 o'clock, after the Boston game, let's say the Boston-Philly game's at halftime, and then we get news that Luka's out, you're going to want to make swaps. You're going to want to obviously get Luka out of your lineups, get in guys like Porzingis, Trey Burke. Hopefully, or I'm sure we will get a starting lineup before lock. I assume Trey Burke will start if Luka sits. Maybe they do something weird, though, and they start Seth Curry at point guard. I know Curry's been coming off the bench and playing a ton, so, you never know there. They could give him a start. We'll just have to wait and see. There's going to be a lot of viable plays, though, from Dallas, if Luka does wind up out. So be ready to make swaps depending on what happens there. But yeah, guys, I think we covered it all for this 4-game slate. I hope you did enjoy this video. I really do appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, just make sure you hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. If you have not yet, you can follow me on Twitter. That's linked down below in the description. You can also check out my exclusive Patreon content. That's linked down in the description as well. If you really enjoy these videos and you want to see more that I have to offer, that is linked down below on Patreon. But yeah, guys, best of luck tonight. I really do appreciate you watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one, guys.